10 reasons why cold approach isn't working for you and how to fix it. Now, if you're someone that's out there trying to improve your dating situation, you've probably dabbled with the online dating apps, didn't work. You tried to slide into some girls' DMs on Instagram or Facebook, didn't work. You sent a few unsolicited pics on Snapchat, got a few replies, but still didn't work. And you even went to the length of paying for it, but for some reason, these girls just didn't want to see you again. So what do? You jump on YouTube and you type in how to meet high quality women in 2025, and what is the answer? Cold approach pickup. You've gone out there, you've dabbled with it a little bit, you approached a few girls, you gave it a go, but what's the issue? The girls either rejected you, they weren't super receptive, or the numbers you did get from the approaches you made, they flaked. So what I want to do in this video is give you a few tips on how to actually fix some of the biggest issues you're going to see with cold approach, and how to start meeting high quality women in the best way possible in 2025. So let's jump into the video by talking about the first sticking point I see guys make, which is not prioritizing their physical appearance when doing cold approach. And yes, guys, I'm sorry, looks do matter. Now, you got to understand, if you're approaching girls in everyday situations through the process of cold approach, it basically just means you're approaching complete strangers. And if you're going to approach a complete stranger on the street, at a park, at a mall, at a shopping center, wherever it might be, you need to make sure you look decent. You're approachable. Your appearance is looking pretty on point. Otherwise, people are not going to be super receptive to you. If you look like a disheveled homeless man, of course the girls aren't going to stop and have a conversation with you. So all you got to do is get the fundamentals down. Make sure your fashion is on point, and it's really not that hard to do. Just make sure basically that your clothes are clean and they fit well. When it comes to your grooming, just make sure you have a fresh haircut, or at least somewhat fresh, like get it done every 1 to 3 weeks. That's fine. Make sure if you have a beard, it looks decent. It's not disheveled. And when it comes to your physical appearance, when it comes to your physique, just make sure that if you're extremely overweight, you probably need to start prioritizing gym and a healthy lifestyle to start leaning down. It is important that you guys do this, otherwise you're gonna be playing on extremely hard mode. And if you're incredibly skinny, then maybe to start eating a little bit more, tracking your calories, and start lifting heavy so you can start gaining a little bit of weight and size, because those two variables there, when you're extremely overweight and extremely skinny, they will come into play of the receptivity of the girls that you're meeting when you approach them. But for all the other body types in between that, you should be pretty good to go. Just make sure you look decent. Cool, so let's jump into the next most common sticking point I see with guys doing cold approach, which is not positioning themselves correctly when they approach women when they're doing cold approach, which is actually really important, because the thing is, if you want to get yourself into engaging conversations with pretty women, you need to make sure you're stopping them in the right way. If you can't stop them to have a chat with you, they're just going to walk off, you're going to get rejected, and you're going to feel disheartened and give up. So the first sticking point I see is a lot of guys when they try to approach girls, so they'll be walking along, the girl will be walking towards them, and out of nowhere they go, "Hey, excuse me," and they'll stop right in front of them. This is an incredibly abrupt opener, and I wouldn't recommend it. And I'll tell you why. When you approach like this and you stand in front of women in this way, they instantly go into defense mechanism mode and instantly put you into, oh, this is a salesperson trying to sell me something, I need to get away from this situation. Instead of thinking, oh, this is a nice, cool guy approaching me to give me a compliment and he wants to meet me. So when you stop in front of them like this, the girls are just like, oh, thank you, no thank you, not interested. And they walk off, and you're sitting there with dick in hand going, oh God, like, oh, another rejection. And you run around doing this all day. Out of 10 women that you approach, probably 8 of them are palming you off, and you're thinking you're getting rejected, but really it's just not positioning yourself correctly when you actually go and approach these women. The other sticking point I see as well is the J turn. If you guys go and approach a girl by, you're seeing her walking past, and you run up alongside her, and then I'm gonna see how I can like try to demonstrate this in the camera. You come up behind the girl, and you run around, and then you're like, oh, excuse me. So it's very similar to kind of just stopping them as they're walking towards you, but you see them walk past, and then you go up and around and do like a big J turn and stand right in front of them. You'll see a lot of London day gamers teach this model. This also is just a little abrupt, and it just makes them a little less receptive on the open. So you just want to try to stay away from abrupt openers like this and make sure your positioning is correct. What I would recommend is you do the side step or the side turn. You walk up alongside the girl once you've seen her. You make sure you're about parallel beside each other, you look over your shoulder, and then you just do a very simple side stop. Now, I actually have a video in the YouTube channel, if you guys want to actually check that out, that explains everything, and it's basically just me explaining to one of my clients the exact correct positioning to approach. So if you guys want to check that out, you can do that there. But that is something you guys need to be mindful of in the future when it comes to approaching, is just make sure your positioning is good. So that way, when you do approach these women, they're more likely to stop, engage with you, and actually have a conversation so you guys can get to know each other and you can make something happen. Sweet, so let's jump into the next sticking point I see with guys that do cold approach. So, a lot of guys out there, when they approach women, they try to make excuses to start conversations with them. Instead of just going direct and showing intention and showing their sexual interest by going direct and giving a girl a compliment on the approach, they feel the need to go under the radar and hide their intentions and make excuses to approach the women and start conversations with them, which is definitely not an ideal situation. I'll explain why. So let's say, for example, you approach a girl and you say, hey, excuse me, I was wondering if you could help me go in the right direction to find the local Starbucks. Could you point me in the right way? Or another example is you randomly start a conversation by saying, hey, like, the weather's pretty shitty today, right? Ha ha ha, whatever, awkward. Or another example is maybe you ask for a female opinion. So you approach a girl and say, hey, excuse me, can I get a female opinion on something? And you say something like, hey, my sister has her birthday this weekend. I have no idea what to get her for her birthday. Could you give me any recommendations? Now, in essence, I guess these are technically conversational starters and you will get your foot in the door, but the problem is there's no intent. She has no idea why you've approached her. So what happens is at the end of these awkward little encounters, you then build up the courage to ask for her Instagram or her number, and she's thinking, okay, like you're a complete stranger that's asked me for directions or talked about the weather or asked me for her opinion about the whole sister situation. Why do you want to get my social media or why do you want to get my contact details? She doesn't understand why. And then when you send her a message, she doesn't really think that much of it, leaves you on scene and ghosts you. And you're sitting there just going, why are these girls not wanting to go on a date with me? It's because, bro, you didn't show any intent. So what you need to do is when you approach women in everyday situations, with cold approach, guys, go direct. Make it man to woman straight away. Let her know your intentions. Let her know that you found her physically attractive and you were drawn to her because you're into her, or you feel like she's your physical type and you wanted to come and have a conversation to get to know her to potentially take her on a date. As soon as you do this, when it comes to the end of that little encounter you have with her, when you ask for her Instagram, she understands what your intentions are and there's a much higher likelihood she's going to respond to you and you can make something happen. So remember, guys, go direct, don't go indirect. Sweet, so what's the next sticking point? So if you guys have approached the girl, you've positioned yourself correctly, you've gone direct, you're already doing pretty good so far. But what I find now is the next sticking point I see guys make is not knowing how to transition smoothly from the opener into a nice, engaging, naturally flowing conversation. And what happens is once the guys have shown intent, and let's say as an example, you approach a girl and you say, hey, excuse me, I know this might be a little random, but I saw you walking past, I thought you were really pretty, so I wanted to come say hi. The guys then, instead of just asking a question, making a statement, or making an assumption to transition into a nice, engaging conversation to get to know the girl and carry things through smoothly, they just kind of stand there awkwardly. And they let that little bit of awkward silence linger for just 1 or 2 seconds too long. And you got to think about it from a girl's perspective. If she's just been approached by a guy and he's said, hey, I just thought you were really pretty. And then there's a little bit of awkwardness there and that creates that little bit of tension. For her, she's like, oh, okay, this guy's giving me a compliment. That's nice. It's a little bit awkward now. I'm just gonna kind of just get away from this situation. And you can't blame her for that. Because if you think about it, right, in all social situations, if you feel a little bit of tension or a little bit of awkwardness, even you are kind of like a little bit cringe and you're like, I don't know if I really want to stay here and converse with this person. It feels awkward. There's tension in this interaction. You kind of want to get out of there. And that's why a lot of these girls will prematurely eject nice and early after you've given them a compliment because you haven't been a man and led that conversation by asking more questions, statements, or assumptions to get into an actual engaging conversation where you guys can get to know each other. So you just need to be really mindful of after you've actually said to the girl, hey, excuse me, that was a little bit random. I thought you were really cute, so I wanted to come meet you. You then introduce yourself and ask her a simple question or make a simple assumption or make a statement and just get yourself locked into that conversation so you guys can now spend some time getting to know each other. And if you don't do that, it's going to be awkward. She's just going to leave early and then you've lost a potential opportunity to bring a really amazing girl into your life. So guys, this next sticking point I see is probably one of the most detrimental sticking points I see for guys that are into the whole dating and cold approach pickup thing, which is prioritizing attraction techniques over focusing on genuine, authentic conversations with the women that they're meeting. They have been indoctrinated by other dating companies out there that for them to have a solid interaction, the girls need to be laughing, that girls need to be super engaged, need to be giving a lot of indicators of interest. And as a guy, you need to push-pull her, you need to tease her, you need to neg her, you need to disqualify her, you need to challenge her, and use all these different techniques to generate attraction. But I've just noticed over the years of coaching hundreds of guys now, those techniques, if you will, they're relevant sometimes. Like every now and then, if they authentically pop up, or you see like a genuine opportunity to throw in a little tease or a little playful disqualifier, or just challenge the girl when it naturally comes up in conversation, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you go out of your way to do it over and over and over and over again, it just comes across super try hard. And girls are just kind of like, dude, like, you're a complete stranger. Why are you like just trolling me right now? Why are you teasing me? Why are you giving me a bunch of shit? I don't even know you. And it actually breaks a lot more rapport than what you guys actually think. So what I would recommend is, instead of doing all of these different like pickup tactics and attraction techniques, just focus on being relaxed, grounded, holding strong eye contact, have a nice big smile on your face, and just focus on actually getting to know the girl and having a genuine conversation and getting her to open up, and for you to open up as well. This here is going to net you so much more results than if you sit here trying to use different push-pull techniques and all these different attraction techniques where the girls are laughing and you think that it's building attraction when really you're just breaking rapport. Now, let's talk about why a lot of you guys are getting extremely flaky numbers, and this will be literally the biggest reason why you're not having a lot of success with cold approach, which is not building enough emotional investment in your interactions. Now, a lot of you guys, if you're fresh or new to cold approach, you probably have the ability to approach girls, show a little bit of intent, and have like a quick 30-second, 60-second, maybe even a 2-minute conversation, get the number and then bounce. But the problem with this is if you haven't built any emotional investment, meaning you haven't really gotten to know the girl on a much deeper level, and also had the chance to kind of open up a little bit about your personality too, so she walks away having a general understanding of who you are, then a lot of these numbers are gonna flake, bro. You're gonna think about it. If you had a 60-second conversation, a lot of that conversation you've had with her is very surface level, get to know you crap. It's not really building any investment. And because of that, a lot of the numbers you're getting are just gonna flat out flake. And that is the biggest reason why a lot of you guys aren't gonna see a return on investment. And look, don't get me wrong, if you just run sheer volume and just approach girl after girl after girl after girl and get a bunch of different numbers, you can actually get some pretty decent results by doing that. But if you're the type of guy that just can't be bothered running huge amounts of numbers every day or each week to go and get yourself dates with high quality women, then what you need to do is now focus on having longer conversations with the girls that you are approaching. And I would say on average, if you can have at least a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute conversation, this is enough time for you to start building genuine investment and creating a genuine connection with the women that you're meeting. It also gives you a good chance to talk a little bit more about your life, express more of your personality, and actually have just a more engaging, authentic, genuine conversation between the two of you. And when she walks away, she's like, oh my God, I feel like I really know this guy. I feel like he was really cool. He was genuine, and he took a genuine interest in me and asked me a lot of questions and actually got to know me as well. And like, one of the biggest sticking points a lot of guys have is they're very narcissistic. They have the tendency to talk a little bit about themselves. But if you learn how to use our level 1, level 2, level 3 questions, which is our surface level personal emotional questions, this is our conversational framework. When you learn this as a skill set, then you never fall into that narcissistic category where you just talk about yourself the whole time. You actually get the girls to open up a lot more and build that genuine investment, which then the girls want to see a return on that and want to see you again. So this is how you start to drastically decrease flakes and start having a lot more consistency when it comes to cold approach. Another big sticking point I see guys struggling with is not number closing or Instagram closing every single girl they have a conversation with. And a lot of the reasons why this will happen is due to pessimism. You'll have a conversation with a girl and maybe she's in a big hurry and you don't really get to know her that much. And because of that, you're like, the number's probably gonna flake. Or maybe the conversation was just a little bit awkward. Like it even went for like 5 minutes, but it just felt a little bit clunky. And you're just like, you know what? I didn't make the best first impression. I just don't think it's gonna go anywhere. And then you just don't even bother asking for the girl's number. But due to this pessimism, you actually miss out on a lot of opportunity. I'm not even shitting you when I say this. Some of the most attractive women I've ever brought into my life have come from literal, shitty, awkward, clunky, 30-second, 60-second conversations from cold approach. Just out of the nowhere, like the universe just kind of threw me a bone and I ended up on a date with these girls. So don't let pessimism stop you from making the most of every single opportunity. So what I recommend is every girl you have a conversation with, every girl you open, every girl you chat to, just ask for the Instagram and ask for the number. Because fuck it, it doesn't hurt. Just shoot your shot, bro. And you never know when something might end up working out. And bro, like, you know, imagine if you have like a real clunky conversation and it's like a 10 out of 10. And even though, you know, you thought it was kind of shit, imagine if she kind of like thought you were pretty cute and you end up on a date with her. You'd be pretty happy with that, no? So every girl you approach from now on, just make sure you get her contact details. Now, something else I want to bring up when it comes to getting a girl's contact details, and it's another sticking point guys struggle with, is when you do go for a girl's number on Instagram, you need to justify why you're actually asking for the contact details. A lot of guys will just kind of end a conversation and say, hey, by the way, can I get your Instagram? Or hey, by the way, can I get your number? And you don't explain to the girl what your intentions are. And this also leads to flaky numbers. What you want to do is you want to say to her at the end of the conversation, hey, I actually really enjoyed talking to you. And to be totally honest with you, I'd love to be able to see you again. So maybe I could take you out for a drink, sometime this weekend if you're open to it. Explain to her that you would like to see her again, that you liked her, and also justify the contact details by trying to suggest a potential date in the future. If you just sit there and go, okay, cool, well, it was lovely to talk to you, and I was wondering maybe before I leave if I could get your number, this doesn't explain to her why you're actually asking for the contact details, and she's just gonna be like, okay, well, I can give you my number, I can give you my Instagram, but what's the point? But when you actually explain to her, like, yeah, I thought you were a pretty cool chick, I actually really enjoyed this conversation, I was wondering if maybe I could take you out another time if you're open to it, at least now she understands your intention behind the request for contact details, which will also help decrease flakes. Now, another little tip I want to throw out there is for the guys that get a girl's contact details and it's not WhatsApp or her telephone number, it's actually her Instagram or some form of social media. You need to make sure that if you're gonna do it that way and you're gonna take the girl's Instagram, you, my friend, also have an optimized Instagram. It doesn't need to be amazing. You don't need to look like some fucking famous Instagram influencer. It just needs to be decent. So if you don't have the best Instagram or the best social media platform in terms of content, I would recommend probably just making sure you try to push for the number or WhatsApp or Snapchat or something like this. Because if you have a shitty little Instagram profile with a bunch of selfie photos, we don't look that attractive, or you got a bunch of photos of you walking around with a big fish, or just shitty content in general, if you have very short conversations or interactions with these girls and they go back and they have a look at your content and they're like, is this guy a serial killer? Is it a good idea to meet up with him again? I liked him, but I don't really know this guy. And you have a shit social media showing a shitty lifestyle or not the most attractive photos, this can also increase the likelihood of getting a flake. A lot of women, before they go on a date with you, will actually vet you and screen you and show their friends the guy that approached them. And the girl's friends will say, hey, can I see his Instagram? They're gonna show their friends that social media. And bro, like if you look like crap, the friend's gonna be like, I don't know, he looks a little bit dodgy. And then all of a sudden, the girl you approach, even if you had a dope conversation with her, might be a little less inclined to see you again. So make sure you're optimizing your social media platforms if you do close on Instagram or Facebook or other platforms like this. But otherwise, guys, you should be pretty good to go. Now, the last point I want to make in this video, which is probably the most important point and probably the biggest sticking point as to why guys aren't getting a lot of quick results with cold approach. It's just, guys, you're just not running enough volume. You're not putting in the numbers. You have to understand when it comes to cold approach and dating for men in general, it's always going to be a numbers game. And it doesn't matter how charming you are, how good looking you are, how tall you are, how jacked you are, how successful you are, how much money you make, how famous you are, whatever the fuck, right? You will always have to run numbers. Doesn't matter if you do online dating, doesn't matter if you're running social circle stuff, doesn't matter if you're doing cold approach, you're going to have to run the numbers. So a lot of guys, when they first start doing cold approach, they're like, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to put myself in these somewhat awkward situations to talk to a stranger, and they do it 3 or 4 times and expect results. It just doesn't work like that. You're gonna have to put in a little bit more volume. If you're someone that's really new to cold approach, just expect in your first few weeks of doing this, you might have to do like 50 approaches before you get yourself on a date. If you're an intermediate guy that has a little bit more practice with this stuff, you're gonna have to do 30 approaches. And when you get really good, once you've actually knuckled down the fundamentals, then yeah, man, when you're pretty good at it, you can be looking at maybe 10 approaches a week to get yourself at least one date with a high quality girl. But you're still gonna have to run the numbers. And if you can embrace that and understand this truly, that's how you get good at cold approach pickup, and this is how you get a lot of very successful dates with high quality women and really optimizing cold approach as a skill set. Cool, so those were the 10 most common mistakes I see guys making when it comes to cold approach, and also a few tips on how you can start to fix those issues. Now, if you guys have enjoyed this type of dating and self-development content, remember, all you gotta do for us to help us with the algorithm and help our channel grow is like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And also, guys, if you want to get access to more dating and self-development content that we and Ben can't really post here on the channel, then join our free Facebook group. There's a bunch of guides, step-by-step tutorials, a bunch of infills, a bunch of really cool stuff. And all you got to do is click on the link in the description to join that group. And also, guys, if you want to inquire about any of our in-person coaching programs, our live 5-day immersion, or our online coaching programs as well, our online mentorship that goes for 6 months, then guys, all you gotta do, again, is just click on the link in the description to make an inquiry and book a free consultation call with either myself, Ben, or someone from our team to look at any of our coaching services. Cool guys, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one.